This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to do a separate video covering this about Apec. For those of you that don't know, Apec is the meeting, these ridiculous meetings that they have every single month for the most part, where all the same people meet and they pretend like what they're doing is meeting for our best interest when what they're really doing is pushing agendas, plotting against us. It's treason at its finest. And I wanted to show you, this is just ridiculous. A photographer documented the surveillance aircrafts over Apec, which shows you how, not just how sophisticated their technology is, but how scared they are of any type of interference in what they're trying to do, because they obviously have the pulse of the people. They monitor everything we say in our homes and everything we say on social media. And they know that there's a lot of people who are becoming more and more awake to their nonsense and what they're really trying to do with enslaving us. So they're afraid now meeting, obviously, they already have security all over the place, meeting at these places because they know that while they're doing this, that more people are seeing what they're actually saying and what they're actually doing. So the surveillance that they have over these meetings that are really, they do these things and could do them in secret, but they do these out in the open as well because they like to bait people and bait these protests. Because remember, when we have this global government in place, all the structures around us will crumble. So you're seeing protests in San Francisco, and it's really laughable because the people there are protesting that all these people are all meeting together, but they're not doing enough about the climate. They're not stopping big oil, which is why they have Exxon and big oil there. So these idiots that are protesting could really be serving a different purpose, but they're actually feeding into problem, reaction, solution, because what they're protesting is exactly what they want them to do and protest. They want them there demanding change because they're going to change everything and bring in a globalist structure. If these people knew that the climate agenda, climate change, I should say, isn't real, and that these people have the ability to manipulate the weather, and they're convincing you that all this stuff is going on naturally, these people could take their effort, their energy, and put it towards a better cause, which would be throwing these people out and arresting them for treason. So the photographer took a video of the surveillance, and I'm going to show you this clip from Twitter so you can look at them just flying and hovering over Apec in a circle for days on end to make sure that there's nobody and nothing coming near them because they are scared senseless of people actually rising against them. And that's why more and more people need to go and purchase things that they don't want you to have. But anyway, take a look at the surveillance. So that was captured by a photographer. That picture that you see on the screen, a Bay Area photographer captured the unusual photo of San Francisco this week that reveals the amount of surveillance hovering over the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. That's what APEC stands for, by the way, for anybody wondering. Not that it matters what these things stand for. They really should just be called the Satanic Summits because every single one of these is the same thing. They claim to meet and talk about AI, climate change, equality, all this stuff. Really should just have a big banner that says we're meeting to enslave you, because that's all that they're doing. And then, like I said earlier, they get these people protesting. That's what they want, because they're looking like they're incompetent and they're not doing enough, so that people demand change and demand more action, which is what they want to do. They want more action. So why people going, we need to do more about the climate. We need to get rid of oil. Stop just meeting and doing this stuff. That's what they're baiting you and gaslighting you into. Point being is to eventually, yes, destroy oil. Yes, destroy the structure of Congress and say these people aren't doing a good enough job. And then you're going to be enslaved by artificial intelligence, global surveillance, etc. So Ian Servin used his Sony A7 III mirrorless digital camera with a basic 50mm lens to document the swirling light trails from the numerous surveillance aircraft over Apec and the city. This composite is a stack of 150 images shot with 30-second exposure that he took from his apartment in Oakland. He then used Photoshop for the layering, applying light color so that you could see the final image, which was all the stuff blended together, all the loops and all the intricacies that they were doing above everybody's heads. Of course, making sure that these people were fully protected. So they'll do that over Apec for targeting and monitoring specific people and groups. But the ones in the streets, they're perfectly fine with, because again, they bait them. And a lot of the times, as we know, Soros and these people fund these protests. So people don't understand how problem, reaction, solution works, and that they want people to be doing this. They want to, get more people behind the people protesting. The people who are protesting, who aren't agents, are so clueless. They're doing exactly what the government wants them to do. So they're asking for change. They're asking for more restrictions. They're asking for something to be done about the climate. They don't even realize that the thing being done with the climate is being done by them using HARP and other machines that they use for for weather manipulation. And for people that don't believe it, you could listen to hours and hours and hours of footage from C-SPAN talking about geoengineering. You can watch war documentaries on Operation Popeye in Vietnam and the monsoons, the creation of monsoons. You can listen to JFK talk about how global governments were competing with each other for weather manipulation back in the 40s and 50s. And we're in the year 2023. And with the stuff we see that we're capable of doing with our phones, etc., you don't think that they have the ability? Of course they do. That's why they program you by saying stuff like, oh, Mother Nature. Oh, you can't control the weather. No, in fact, you can. So these people are getting gaslit to go there and protest. So anyway, I thought it was hilarious looking at the surveillance that they have over there, because this isn't like one of those things like you could actually see with your own eye. This guy was like recording it, then he was monitoring flight patterns and flights that were coming in and out. I'll continue reading the article, but that's really what happened. His name is Servin. He said that he normally notices lights from the arrivals and departures from San Francisco International Airport and Oakland International, and typically sees just a single law enforcement aircraft in the air at any given time. For Apec, however, the number of aircraft circling the city is far higher, he estimates. In this case, they're doing proactive surveillance. You can identify the aircraft via ADSB, a signal most aircraft broadcast in flight that augments the radar system used by air traffic control and is picked up by amateur-run ground stations and fed into flight tracking platforms like Flight Radar 24, Flight Aware, ADSB Exchange, and others. So they think that they're like, and they are stealth in a sense, because obviously the human eye, and most people aren't going to notice this stuff. If they did, there'd be a lot out there. But then at the same time, they'd be like, well, we're just putting up, surveillance up there just to make sure everything's okay and safe. They're so concerned because obviously they're aware after the outbreak, it did not go the way that they planned it to go. Anyone out there that sits there and goes, well, they knew that there was going to be pushback. Okay, fine. They didn't know there was going to be pushback like this, as far as refusal to do what they say, refusal of buying into the fear that they pumped onto people. In fact, they are shocked at how many people woke up from it, which is why they're kind of subvertly trying to still push in stuff about how you need to go and get it and not be too dramatic or over the top, because they realize that they caused a pretty big awakening from the way they handled it, with the demands, with the mandates, that citizens did not only did they not like it, it woke other people up to what was going on. And now people who were poisoned the first time around are refusing to poison themselves again. They're like, I'm not falling for it again, because they realize how over the top, how desperate, when you had all these puppets going on television telling you that they were going to give you free lap dances and free credit cards if you went and got it. Everybody became aware when they found out that you weren't immune, that they were just trying to get it in your body. So they're concerned, which is a good thing. They should be concerned, but unfortunately, they're going to continue to get away with this stuff because they're going to continue to keep us at odds with each other, which is how all of this works. But they're fearful. They are fearful, and that's why they have to continue to create a lot of these false flags and these psyops and make sure you don't have certain things inside your home, because those certain things they don't want inside your home is exactly what people need to have so that the civilians would have a chance to rise up against this. Because remember, I always say it, and I've said it a lot recently, it's a numbers game. Everything's a numbers game. If you are going to look at any war that's ever occurred, and there was an army that was 3 times the size of another one, you'd say every time, I don't care what technology the one side has, maybe that would help even the playing field a little bit. 3 times the army I would take. Well, in this case, it's like 1,000,000 times more people. Now, they have unbelievable technology, obviously, okay? And they are the ones who are creating and maneuvering this, this game that they're playing with us. But at the same time, we would be able to rise against it via numbers. So you have to make sure that you have the things that they don't want you to have, which is why on the website, uprisingrevival.com, again, you could talk over there about these things, about what you're not supposed to have that you should have. You could talk about food supply, water supply, how to clean your water, how to get a well, all these things that people need to do. Now, there's obviously going to be a lot of stuff that they do as well as far as contaminating the water to make sure that you don't have drinkable water. So these are all things over on the website, Uprising Revival, you could discuss and learn about. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of you watch other channels that talk about those types of things as well. But we all need to be aware, okay? And they're sitting there and they're meeting out in the open. And they're realizing that more and more people are becoming suspicious. And again, not the people protesting in the streets demanding change for the climate stuff, okay? Those are all suckers. They know people like us, that's what they're fearful of, who know that this is treason, that these people are all working together, Republican and Democrat, okay? They're obviously well aware if they're going to do this in stealth and have that type of protection over themselves. They have to make sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start canceling a lot of these things like Davos and create false flags around Davos. That's something to keep an eye on. Davos is coming up again. That's the big one. Really, it used to be Bilderberg was bigger. I think Davos has really become the biggest one where they're, that's where Klaus Schwab is and headquarters for the World Economic Forum. That's what over in, I believe, Switzerland. They go meet over there, I think, in January or February. Don't be surprised if a false flag isn't created around that, and they blame conspiracy nuts for more censorship and, of course, to bring more sympathy towards these people and make them into victims when in reality they are, couldn't be more the opposite. These people are absolute abominations beyond comprehension. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do that and then say that a lot of these meetings aren't going to occur anymore because they're fearful for their safety, and then, they're going to just meet, but they're not going to tell you where they're going to meet, and they're going to meet in secret. They try to make it seem like they're meeting out in the open, and, they air a lot of the stuff, like, from this meeting. Like, if you didn't see the video I put up, go check it out earlier on, what they talked about with AI and the climate, etc. They meet, and then they air some of this stuff on MSNBC, et cetera, to make it look like, this is what they're talking about. This is what they're doing. So people aren't suspicious. But they shut the cameras off. They're all there together. What do you think? They're just going to their hotel room? No, they're going underground. Not only are they going underground doing ritual sacrifice, but they're really plotting their, the demise of humanity. Okay, so they pretend they're like, look, those people are conspiracy nuts. Look, we're meeting and we're sitting in chairs and we're smiling and we're making it look like we're at a business meeting in our suits and ties. Then when we shut the cameras off, we'll put our druid cloaks on and we'll go underneath the building and we'll do things that you couldn't even imagine. As they, all the stories I've covered in the past with Bohemian Grove of how many children get brought into the Bohemian Grove every time they're all meeting there. It's absolutely make you cry, make you just so angry beyond belief. But anyway, they meet. Okay, the stuff they show you is not what's really going on. And I think that in the future, I think this is even a good telltale sign. They're going to create something around these events and then say, you know what, we're canceling G7, we're canceling Bilderberg, we're canceling Davos. And they'll still meet, of course. They just will make it seem like, well, we can't have these things out in the open anymore because conspiracy nuts are doing this or doing that. They're trying to pretend like they're transparent when they're not transparent. The stuff they show you is nothing more than a massive fabricated lie that they create to deceive people into thinking they're meeting with our best interest in mind. It couldn't be further from the truth. So when you look at the picture up in the sky, then you also think about the other stuff that I showed you in the previous video with the purple lights, these beams. I don't know if those things were able to hide some of the stuff, the transparency in the sky, or, what the purpose of the beams were. I mean, I'm curious to see what some of you think. If you don't know, you could look it up. That they were using like a laser show, and it wasn't just so they could be like, look, a laser show in San Francisco. They were actually using the purple lights. I don't know if this was a mockery thing to give the middle finger. Maybe those lights did something to protect people from being able to see the surveillance in the sky with the visible eye. But very interesting, right? We've seen a lot of stuff going on in the sky. Maui before events over there too. So that's something else we could keep in mind, right? There was a lot of stuff a couple weeks before Maui, including not just the balloon, but a lot of the laser shows in the sky, which I covered from a previous channel, which is now deleted, showing you the stuff that was in the sky. So again, this could be stuff in the sky that could be related to something else that comes in the future. It's another thing to keep in mind. And a reminder, if you haven't subbed to A Call for Vengeance yet, mentioning the Maui videos, etc., please do that now. Please don't wait. Please don't take the time to go, hey, I'll do it in the future, because what ends up happening to everybody is it ends up being too late. because then I'm just wiped off in the middle of the night and you totally forget about me, which is understandable. You got your own lives. That's why I constantly have to harp and emphasize, no pun intended, harp, on this so that people subscribe now and don't miss out. Okay, I was actually going through a video for the website, Uprising Revival, looking at some of these events. And, like in the videos, a lot of the times I'll warn people about my backup channel. I'll show a screenshot of the channel. And there's like 5 or 6 channels I just saw that I didn't even remember that they took down that had 150, 175, 120,000. So obviously this is getting harder and harder. And it's pretty depressing to see that. I'm not going to lie. But because there's a lot of people that I reach, a lot of people that want my content and want to see it. And I have to rebrand and stuff so they don't know where to find me. So don't be the people that missed out and didn't subscribe. Make sure you do it now. Trust me, you'll want to do it. You don't have to watch every video I have. Obviously, you watch at your discretion. You watch when you feel like watching. But you want to be subscribed because I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to find me because I'm going to have different names over and over again. So that channel's linked below. I'm trying to get to 4,000 watch hours. I need your help in doing so. So please watch the content over there. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.